Yeah, so Ashley Wines, Middle Path Yoga Studio. Welcome.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here today.
Happy to be here.
And just had a great hot flow this morning. Man, I was really sweating today. That was great. You did something to my left hip. I don't know what happened, but like ever since class, I just have felt maybe a little more open
Sweet.
in this hip. But it's a beautiful start to the day. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, it was good to have you.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure. So yeah, like Middle Path Yoga Studio, kind of a new business in Athens.
Yeah, we just opened in April. April 9th was our opening date. And, we're still getting the flow and getting out there in the community. So it's been a huge project of mine. Middle Path Yoga was a 10-year goal that I opened in 7 years.
Whoa.
I wasn't really looking to open a yoga studio during this time, but I was starting to hear kind of the call from the community of needing more of a sacred and well thought out studio. And for myself too, like I wanted somewhere to teach and share and be really in the community and help the community. So I just walked into that place one day. Actually, the landlord, when I talked to him, he was like, "Are you sure? It looks like something out of a Saw movie." And I was like, "Let's do it. Let me see it." So I actually like renovated the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, new floors.
And like how long did that take?
I got it done in like a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cooking.
I know. I really kind of cracked the whip on everybody else who was helping me, and I did have so much support, and I was just there also every single day, you know.
Yeah.
And luckily I had or have the skills and resources to like do a lot of those things that I needed to do myself as well.
That's cool. I heard somebody, when they came into class today, say, like, they went to a class of yours at, like, Bodhi, which is, like, now Serenity Roots.
Yeah.
So, like, you've taught classes around Athens longer than just Middle Path has been around.
Yeah, so I started yoga when I was really young. My first yoga class I was like 12, 13 years old.
Whoa.
I struggled a lot with a very traumatized youth, and I struggled with school. I was skipping school. I was experimenting with drugs. I mean, I was just like very traumatized. I was labeled as a bad kid, but I wasn't bad. I was just traumatized.
Yeah.
And so I was in and out of institutions. And again, this is like me being 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
In and out of juvie,
Wow.
in and out of different systems.
Is this around this area? Where is this at?
So this was, I grew up mainly in New Hampshire and West Virginia.
Okay.
My mom lived in New Hampshire and my dad lived in West Virginia.
Cool.
So I went back and forth my whole life. And so my mom's kind of last straw with me was like, "I'm taking you to a yoga class." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." And I went into this yoga class, and I was a pretty serious dancer most of my life and competing all around, getting scholarships. I competed in world's dance competitions. So I went into a Bikram class, which is now known as 26 and 2, and it's very intense, right? It's 90 minutes. They're like getting into all these crazy back bends, and it was really easy for me because I already had this strength training and flexibility from dance. And I remember at the end of class, the teacher walked over to me and was like, "Have you ever considered being a teacher?" And I was just like, rolled my eyes. I was like, "Whatever, no." And so that landed in me. It landed in me more than I even realized, because I still like walked out of there, had this awful attitude. You know, I was sent away to another institution for like 9 months, and in that institution, I was locked up with other very traumatized girls and ladies and women, and I started just practicing in my room. And then
How long of time is it between your first yoga class and to where you're talking about now?
It was probably like maybe a year,
Okay.
year and a half maybe between that time. And so I started practicing in my room, and then all of a sudden, like, the staff there were like, could you teach a class to, like, everybody here? And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. No idea what I'm doing. Like, literally had only taken one yoga class. I'm just like, let's just stretch, get into it. And, you know, not knowing what I'm doing, but still I could see and witness the benefits that were happening with all these other people in the class. People were breathing, they were concentrated, they were thinking about their body, you know, and that was so powerful to see, especially because it was women that I was with every single day. And I mean, they were like fighting, cussing, you know, breaking down in tears, angry, depressed, I mean, everything. And then just for like that 30-40 minutes was like peace. There was peace in the house, you know. So then fast forward, I you know, did my thing, had a lot of travels, a lot of adventures in between, and I came back to yoga after I broke my ankle, and I was like really into the skate scene at this point, so I was just like shredding, right?
Nice. Oh, wait, like a board or rollerblades or?
No, a skateboard,
Nice.
for
Nice.
sure.
Okay. Cool.
And I broke my ankle. I was in a really abusive relationship at the time, and they were prescribing me pain pills like crazy. And I didn't really realize the impact they were having on me until I was just like, okay, well, my ankle's healed, but like I'm still being prescribed them, I'm still taking them. Something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So I went to a yoga class. And I mean, I showed up and I was like in this like ratty like $5 yoga mat that's like disintegrating, right? I'm in like hand-me-down yoga shorts, like a hole in shirt, tank top, no idea what I'm walking into, and this room is packed, and the only space is like right in front, right? I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was really intimidated, honestly, because everybody there had clearly like been practicing, you know, had all the fancy yoga mats and the fancy yoga clothes, and I didn't like that. I didn't have money for that, you know, and I was like, okay, whatever. And but I immediately was able to drop into the space, and then I was like, oh, okay, and it just clicked. And so I started going to yoga every single day, and it became a safe space for me outside of this very abusive relationship I was in. I mean, I was at the yoga studio every single day, multiple times a day, just hitting any and every class I could. And then I was like, cool. They started offering teacher training, and I was like, I want to do this. And that was in...
It's like just obvious to you at this point, like...
Obvious.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really want to be a teacher, but I just want to go deeper. I want to know more. I want to learn more. And so that's how I got into my 200-hour, and that was a 9-month program. And that really like kick-started it all. And then I was just like, from there, I dove in. And I worked with some really renowned teachers, and only continued to foster that connection with the teachers that were really inspiring me. And I started to work more in the one-on-one space with my teachers. That seemed a lot more in depth, and traveling, learning, taking any class I could, and learning. You know, it wasn't always like easy for me. I mean, doing the asana, the postures, that part actually was pretty easy for me and fun. I could very easily put my body into those positions. It was very challenging for me. The hardest part was meditating, which is like the most important part, right? The hardest part was laying down and being quiet, Shavasana, you know. And that was where I really had to crack the whip and get really disciplined and serious and be like, okay, you're not allowed to do the fancy arm balances anymore. You're going to sit and you're going to put a timer on your phone, and that's what you're going to do. Which really transformed the way I feel like I show up for my teachers or for my students. And, you know, I didn't jump into teaching right away. After I finished my 200-hour, I actually started working for a nonprofit called Project Yoga. That's aimed to bring yoga into the underserved Appalachian communities. So I started teaching in jails. I started teaching in halfway houses. I started teaching in rehabs. And it was very interesting, and I felt, and I still feel like that is the most important work, is being able to offer yoga to these underserved communities. So that kind of kickstarted my teaching, and then I was in and out of it for a while.
Well, so like how long between getting the 200, between like kind of starting some, like what you were talking about with the...
I jumped right in to that, yeah. Jumped right into that, and then took some time off and was just like exploring, you know, the world. I was writing, I was dancing a lot, and just doing other things. But yoga was always what I came back to. Like, no matter how far off in the world I was going or what I was doing, I always came back to that place, you know? Like, yoga really, it meets you where you're at. And I've always appreciated that about the practice. Like, no matter if you fall off the path or stray away from the path, yoga's always there. And that's kind of the inspiration for the name of Middle Path Yoga. You know, it's not about being like up here, it's not about being down there. Like, it's life evolves, it flucts and flows. We're going to fall off the path. The middle path is always there. It's just about walking the middle path. So,
which is like, that's meditation, is like the act of like relinquishing like whatever it is, like that thought that's coming in, you know, like it's, that's the practice. Because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like, you get caught up in thinking like, oh, if I don't just reach this like state of disappearance for the next 20 minutes straight, like I'm not meditating. But it's really not even that. It's like catching yourself, like running off with a thought, and then just being like, okay, you know, back to pull the navel in, you know, feel the low back. Like, that is the meditation. It's like the act of relinquishing, like whatever it is that you're, you know, like, and so but I used to beat myself up because those thoughts would come, and then finally somebody's like, no, like letting it go that is like the muscle of like the meditation, and then that really helped me. Like, I gave myself more grace with it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. You know, that's non-attachment, right? Non-attachment to thoughts, non-attachment to outcome. That's why we're practicing yoga. And we can never turn the brain off, you know, but we can have power in what we hold on to and what we release. And it's so much easier said than done, obviously. Like, if meditation was easy, we'd all be like sitting in meditation, peace, love, and happiness. But that's not the reality, you know? And then also, like, some thoughts need more attention than others, you know? But if we're not giving ourselves the space to sit and to really allow the flow of emotions, the flow of thoughts, then how do we know? We just stay in a constant state of disconnection. So I think that too about meditation is connecting with yourself, whether the thoughts are, you know, I don't want to say bad, but maybe not self-serving to your highest form of self, right? Because I really, like, emotions, thoughts, they're not bad, right? They're not
inherently.
They're
your
not
interpretation
wrong.
of them,
Right.
Yeah.
It's what you do with them, you know? So, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you know, rooting the navel up and back to the spine. I'm always harping on that. Always. Yeah, because the breath is what's going to drop us in, you know? And if your students aren't paying attention to the breath, then they're not concentrating, they're not there, you know. So it is very important to bring it back to the breath always, no matter where we are, what we're doing. Yeah. And that was, wow, yeah. And so you're doing the teacher training too. So it's like, we're about to go so deep.
Yeah, I'm really nervous because it's always been kind of like not superficial, because like I understand like the meditative part of it. Like I would echo the same thing. Well, you know, I guess the poses don't come to me as easy, but I feel as if it is easier on the mechanical side than like the mental side of like staying with your breath in the downward dog. Like when you're, God, and I always like put this pressure on myself to like do every vinyasa that's offered. And like today specifically, I just knew I was sweating really bad, and I was like, let's stay with the breath. Like so like that's what I'm struggling with right now. Is like just wanting to like do all the poses, but then that, to your point, like if you lose the connection to your breath, like everything else, like it doesn't matter what pose you're in if you're not, you know, breathing. And yeah, God, that's just hard. That's hard. But and then even too, like like when you talk about like learning like the Sanskrit and like just all there's just a like new level, right? There's levels to the game, and that's like a little nerve-wracking, but I think it'll be exciting. You know, I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a space that I watch all students come into when they're getting deep into yoga and the asana, and I can see the hesitation of, do I go into this vinyasa? Do I go into this pose even though something in me is telling me no? And this is the many parts of self that come up in yoga, and it's also the ego, right? Ego quite literally translates to I. You know, and ego isn't bad or wrong, it's information, right? And so we really have to learn, like, when we're pushing ourselves to a point of exhaustion and burnout, and when we are inviting ourselves into the discomfort in a controlled manner, so because there's more structure, then there's more fluidity.
It's like breathe into the edge. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's hard, you know, because we always want to run away from the discomfort. I mean, and this is on and off the yoga mat. Like anything that feels uncomfortable, we tend to stray away from. Instead of learning to breathe into it and maybe exploring why and what comes up, what's the emotion, what's the feeling, what's happening in my body.
Yes.
You know, where can you strengthen, where can you soften it in that moment? You know, it's not everything I say in the yoga class. I'm like, I just like hope that students can also take that into the real world and check in with themselves. Who am I? Where am I? How do I feel in this moment? You know, and then make an informed decision from there. Yeah. And that's, asana is like a slither of what yoga is. It's meant to get the body and mind and spirit ready for meditation.
Asana means breath?
Asana means poses.
Poses.
Yes, okay. Asana. And breath means pranayama, or pranayama means breath. So, and that's what we're doing. I think, you know, like we do a lot of hard stuff in class, but that's not what makes you an advanced practitioner. I think what makes you an advanced yogi is how long you can sit and how well you can regulate your nervous system on a moment-to-moment basis. You know, because we're not always going to be regulated, especially when we're feeling outside stimulation, right? And just being real about that and how to recalibrate the self when we are dealing with moments of dysregulation or overstimulation or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you take the 200, you immediately start teaching these group classes. Like, how long between the two, and then did you do a 3 or go right into a 5? Like, what other types of, and why did, I mean, like, obviously just getting deeper, because that was a question I asked during the class, you know, like, is the 300, the first 200 of the 300, you know, a 200 with 100 more, or like, is it on, you know what I mean? And and then you were like, no, the exact opposite. It's like even deeper into the whole. So like, you do the 200, like, were you already thinking like I need to do more, or like how did you find yourself into like another high level like teaching course again?
Sure, yeah. I mean, as you're about to find out, like 200 hours is like skimming the surface, okay, of what yoga means and what there is to explore. So I finished my 200 hours, started a bunch of volunteer work, working within this nonprofit. Went on to like, travel and do my thing. And I guess I should backtrack to it just a little bit. So part of like my upbringing and my youth and being so institutionalized, I actually dropped out of school when I was 16. And I did like a little college here and there, but not, which I loved, and I studied philosophy, but never got a degree or anything like that. But I did like go full send into everything yoga and studying with a lot of great minds in the yoga world too. So I did my own thing for a while, and I got into a one-on-one spiritual container with Sue Hunt, and that was one of the most transformational study containers I've ever had.
What does that mean, study container?
So it's a container that you create with your teacher. It's a student-teacher relationship. And that's what I was in, and we were doing one-on-one sessions. So it was very powerful, and it was very unique and individualized. And it was also in a way, like I love community learning, and I love being in classes with other people because some people are going to ask the questions that you're afraid to, or you're going to connect and create community, right? But when you're in the one-on-one space, you also have your teacher who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to listen to your breath, going to listen to your body, is going to know a lot more about you, and so it's able to really reprogram and rewire the neuroplasticity in the brain, right? So I was doing like crazy practices, sitting for long periods of time, writing prompts, all this stuff, just me and my teacher. And that was huge and transformational for me. And so then I was like, part of that was like, okay, I want to start working with my students in the one-on-one space. And it was in my energetic field, but I wasn't ready yet. So I was like talking to my teacher one day, and I was like, can you just do like a 500 hour? I want to be certified. And she's like, okay. She's like, let me think about that. And she has owned a plethora of yoga studios, and she's studied Hinduism, Buddhism, very, very disciplined teacher, author, blah, 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 blah. And so then all of a sudden, like, several other people started asking her to do a 500-hour teacher training, and this was during COVID. Yeah, this was during COVID, so it was all virtual, and we were in community, but then again, it was also still very much one-on-one. So I basically got my whole 500-hour year-long program sitting one-on-one with my teacher.
And what is that like? So every other 2 weekends a month, Saturday, Sundays, like your 200. What is this 500 like? Is it a couple days a week, like, or what's the schedule look like? Regimen?
It was like every day.
Fuck.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, at 500 hours, like this is fucking what you're doing,
Yeah,
right? It's not like just like something you're doing. It's what you're doing. Yeah.
Literally, I was like living, breathing, doing yoga, and it was to the point of like what I was eating, what I was ingesting. It was very, very disciplined, and she was very good at holding that container, and I think part of being a good teacher is knowing how to be disciplined, knowing how to be structured, so your students have the ability to flow through, right? And that's also like Shiva Shakti, feminine, masculine energy, because they cannot live without each other.
Yes.
They need each
Yes,
other,
yes.
you know, and feminine and masculine energy is not contingent on gender, right? It has nothing to do with gender. It is energy. And
It's like a spectrum of the same thing, right?
different, but they work together.
Yeah.
You know, so I jumped into that and became a certified 500-hour teacher. And then I was like teaching in and out of the community in Athens and in West Virginia at Full Circle Yoga, which is also great. And I highly recommend checking out that studio.
Where is it at in West Virginia?
Vienna,
Yeah,
West
yeah,
Virginia.
okay.
Yeah. And so I was in and out teaching in the Athens community when Athens Yoga was around. And, you know, through this process, I also had 2 children, or 1 child at the time. And so I was in and out of, like, being a mom, being a student. But that was kind of the blossoming of then getting back in the community, but also teaching one-on-one and being a mentor and a teacher to students. And so the last year, maybe more than a year now, I've been working in mentorship a lot. And so that's really the root of what I love. You know, I love being in the one-on-one space. I love listening to other people's thought process, their sound current, their breath, and really coming at life using a yogic lens, and then assigning unique and individual practices to help that person, whether it's like bringing a dream to life, you know, or working through emotional obstacles or blockages. I've worked with people in addiction before. I've worked with mothers. I've mentored people through free birth, you know, just like a lot. And I love that space, you know. It's so powerful and so potent, and because I learned so much in the one-on-one space as a student. So and then Middle Path Yoga was also born, like, between all this.
Yeah.
And you know, offering a 200-hour training, I think, like, it's not just about certifying teachers, right? It's about building community. It's about going deeper into really powerful and ancient practices that have been supporting thousands of people for thousands of years.
That's
you
it.
know?
Yeah, that's so great. Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, it would not still be here
Yeah.
if it wasn't working.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, like, we've had to evolve yoga in the way to meet the modern day human. And I think that's like very interesting for modern day teachers, right? Because we're basing that off of ancient teachings, but we are so in this, like, very fertile ground of, like, okay, but how do we do that? You know, and something you know, you've heard me talk about it too, is just like the tucking of the chin, Jalandhara Bandha gets activated. But it's also like we're looking down so much at our phones and on the computers and stuff that I was just talking about with other teachers the other day. It's like, I think we need to start cueing looking up more, you know, and getting really into stretching the front of the throat and the back of the neck, because we're not using our necks and our heads in these ways. And I just feel like it's going to be an issue if we don't start bringing that into the classroom. Yeah, so it is very interesting taking ancient teachings and modernizing it for people in this day and age. Yeah.
It's exciting. So then how do you, like, kind of develop? So you talked about, like, the 26 and 2, right? And then there's, like, the slow flows and the power flows and the roots and rise. Like, there are all these, like, sects. Like, is it just, like, through going through them, or is it like just specific? Like, I don't know, right? Like, what is it? What is the purpose of, like, all these, like, different, like, specifying, like, right? Like, why don't you just kind of, like, change up the class? Why are they labeled like 26 and 2, right? What does that mean?
Sure, that's a great question. So there's different styles of yoga, right? There's hatha, there's vinyasa, there's 26 and 2, there's restorative, there's yin, there's bhakti yoga, there's all kinds. And I mean, mainly, so the names are just like whatever.
Yeah.
Like Root and Rise, Anna teaches that, she's amazing. Or like slow flow. What that means is, okay, this is a slow vinyasa class, right? Power flow, this is a hot, heated vinyasa class. And a lot of that, honestly, is like marketing, advertisement reasons. You know, people see that catchy name and they're like, oh, cool, whatever.
But it is also to differentiate, right? A power flow is different than a slow flow. It's different than a 20.
Yes, exactly. And traditionally as well, like hot classes aren't traditional, right? It's kind of a new wave, trendy thing. And it's fun. And, you know, like some people, it's some people's cup of tea and it's not other people's, and that's fine. And 26 and 2 was formerly known as Bikram, but Bikram was this human who was very abusive. And so we see that happen in the yoga world quite a bit, where teachers get in these positions of power and abuse their students.
Ego.
Yeah. And it happens in everywhere.
Every power dynamic.
Yeah, every power dynamic.
Again, yoga off the mat. It's the same thing.
Exactly. So, and that's why, like, we hit ethics so hard in the teacher training because there is a power dynamic there with teacher and student. And if you're not holding that seat, then everything is lost. Like, it doesn't matter what you've taught up until that point, everything is lost. And it's very, very serious. And it's abuse, you know. So, so Bikram named this. That Bikram came around, I believe, in the 70s, and so he was the one who invented these certain postures that you do repetitively every single class. It never changes, right? And he was like, sure, I'm just going to name this after myself. And honestly, that should have been, like, the first red flag, right? Like, you know, because, like, anybody who's doing yoga, like, isn't naming yoga after themselves, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah, so the way we've kind of, like, are trying to heal that as a community is not calling it Bikram anymore, calling it 26 and 2, because people have reaped a lot of beautiful benefits from that.
So then specifically, what's the 26 and 2 represent?
So 26 and 2 is, there's 26 postures and 2 styles of breath that you use. Okay. Yeah, so that is why it's called 26 and 2, which is way better and makes way more sense. Yeah. Yeah, so and I think that's really important to get across to the community as well, and just also to be aware of, like, the power dynamics, you know, in every single, in the world, you know, off the yoga mat too, like, and being very aware of who are you, where are you, and what are you doing, and why are you doing it, you know, so, yeah. Yeah.
So then that's got to be fun, right? That you're teaching a couple of different classes, like different styles and stuff. Like, how many classes a week do you teach, and then how many do other people teach at your studio?
So I teach 4 classes a week, and then I also do mentorship. Okay. That's all virtual, and that's one-on-one. And that's just a few times a week, just depends. It changes up every week. And then I have one other teacher that teaches 2 classes a week, Corey Collins. She teaches a Monday 5:30 class or Wednesday 5:30, Monday 7 p.m. class. Anna teaches 1 class. And I'm trying to remember everybody. We got Shay Sanchez. She's going to be teaching a yin class. Jess, and I cannot pronounce her last name. I'm not even going to try. But she's great, and she teaches a Friday afternoon class. So there's classes every day.
How did you set that up? Like, did those people approach you? Did you approach other people? Did you already have a network of kind of teachers like around the area? Like, how do you facilitate that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of being like an entrepreneur, right? You kind of gotta like, you gotta. I think this is also part of manifestation, right?
Okay.
Like manifestation doesn't happen by like sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, heard
No.
that.
Like you have to put action to it. So
Yeah.
I do try to open the door with all yoga teachers in the community
It's awesome.
to come teach, and whether that's like me reaching out to them or them reaching out to me, having conversations, that's part like of holding that space, is having that structure so teachers can flow through, and setting up in a way where it's more hands-off for teachers so they can just like get in the studio and teach and do their thing.
That's awesome, yeah.
And being like also like Middle Path Yoga, it is the only teacher-owned studio in Athens, right? Like I've been a teacher. I know what it's like to be a teacher, and so when I stepped into being an owner of this space, it felt really important to me to still take that aspect of being a teacher into the space of being an owner. Obviously, like studios can't just run on like mantras and down dogs,
That's so fucking fun. Yeah, that checks out.
That checks out, right? Like we're still a business,
yeah.
and so that's been a really interesting learning curve for
Being an
me.
entrepreneur, yeah.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur, especially as a studio owner,
Yeah.
because we have policies, and that is there to support the studio. So, and learning to have those conversations as well, and being in conscious leadership, has been really important, and like creating this web of manifestation, karma, action, like that's a circle, right? Like one cannot live without the other. So there's a lot of footwork involved, and I try to support my teachers how I would want to be supported as a teacher in the studio, as far as like marketing goes and conversations, feedback, knowing when and where to have a conversation when that's appropriate, and also knowing how to like approach that in a very conscious way, because entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship. Not everybody's going to be pick up what you lay down.
Yeah.
And that also goes back to having no attachment to outcome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really great, but I'm like so happy to have that space.
Yeah.
And it feels like home. It does, and I am happy that that's also a lot of the feedback I've gotten from students showing up, like, oh, this is a studio.
Yeah, you feel so tucked in. Like, you talk about how it's kind of small. I actually like it. Like, I prefer that.
Yay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's great. And you do a lot of, like, fun stuff, too. Like, I saw, like, you went to, like, a goat farm and did, like, what is it, Jazz Quinn something?
Yeah, so Jazz McQuinn, Family Farm. We've just like connected over social media.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and so she was like, I got goats, you got yoga, let's collab.
That's
I'm
so
like,
awesome.
Sweet, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because like a big part of my upbringing too is farming and
awesome.
animals, and I have horses, and I'm like, yeah, of course. So yeah, it's just fun, and it's so funny too, because like 10 years ago, if you would have asked me to do goat yoga, I would have turned my nose up to it so hard. I would have been like, that's not yoga. And
oh, wow, like pretentiously. That's crazy for you to even acknowledge that you would have been that way. Like, that's so incredible. Thank you for being who you are.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like, and, but now I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Because I think what's being lost in translation in yoga is like, it doesn't have to be that serious.
Yeah,
Like, yoga
yeah.
does not have to be that serious.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we should be having fun. Like, everybody should be having fun.
Yeah.
You know, we can still breathe and concentrate and meditate.
And push yourself and find the
Yeah.
yeah. There's a fine line, right? The
and
middle
have
path.
fun,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, it's totally, and it's, I feel like it's way more transformative when we can, like, laugh about it.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've ever been in a yoga class and you have fallen, you know, and like just being able to laugh and get back up, or like fart or whatever it is, like, and cry, you know, like, I really want to invite all emotions into that space, because they are all valid and they are all welcome, you know. And like, same for me too. Like, I'm a teacher, yes, but I'm also a human. You know, I mess up my lefts and rights, like, it happens. Sometimes I mess up my cueing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Like, and just really inviting, like, a space where it is non-judgmental, so anybody can show up just as they are. And that is probably, or it is, the most important thing to me, is just like showing up. Like, whether if you're going through it and you're feeling it, like, please just walk in the door. You know, you don't have to explain to me, you don't have to whatever. I'm just happy you're there, you know, whether it's in a puddle of tears or angry or, you know, whatever it is. It's just...
Is it ever a challenge? Like, are there days that your cup is overflowing and you're trying to find the space for these people? Like, how do you manage that? Like, I mean, that happens to everybody, right? Like, just like you're kind of explaining, how do you manage that, like, from that space? Like, have you ever, is it like listening? Like, maybe I need to cancel this class today. Like, what is that? Just like, how do you facilitate that throughout your career? You know?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, and I think that's really important to explore at, like, teacher to teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, we are humans, you know, and we are going to feel overwhelmed sometimes, and life circumstances are sometimes out of our control, and things happen. And I'll just give an example. Like, a couple weeks ago, my dog died, and I had to teach a class. I had a one-on-one, and I had to lead a workshop in the evening. And I was like, okay, am I going to cancel or am I going to show up? And I was like, I'm going to show up, you know. I'm going to show up in my full totality of being a human being and having this really fucked up shit happen in my life right now, because these students are relying on me, you know. And that is what matters.
It's very brave. Yeah.
You know, it is brave. You know, it's brave to show up and be messy, but, you know, from practicing, from breathing, from meditation, I am also able to regulate my nervous system. You know, so I can hold that space.
Mm-hmm.
Can everybody? No. You know, and there is a level of discernment that has to happen, because not everybody is going to be able to walk in to that space and be able to hold the space in a professional, ethical way. I think that's something that happens over time from priming the space as a teacher. But honestly, most importantly, as a student, because like I said, I would have not been able to hold that space if I wouldn't have been practicing and nourishing my own nervous system, so I could show up for my students, you know. And I do think that's also part of being, like, I think there's a little more pressure on me because I also am the owner of the studio. Like, I have to hold that space. But don't get me wrong, like, there's been times where I've been like, okay, I'm feeling a little burnout this week. How am I going to plan my week? And part of that strategy is, okay, maybe I'll just cancel the Wednesday class, or like a class that has a lower attendance, and setting myself up for success in that way too.
Just being self-aware.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we can't do it all the time, but I do, and I want to stress this especially to my teachers at the studio and myself, like, consistency, it matters. You know, it really does. It matters for your students. I talk about it in class sometimes as repetition calms the mind, the chitta vritti, fluctuations of the mind. So when our students start to rely on us, and they're relying on that 75 minutes and that container and that repetition because they know it calms their mind and they know their teacher's going to hold that space, like that is serious. It's so serious.
Yeah.
Like when you hold that teacher's space, that is what you're doing. And so I really asked my teachers to like hang in there, especially as we're like building this business. And still getting the word out. It takes about, and even established studios, like it takes about 6 to 9 months to really build your client base. But if you're canceling classes pretty consistently, or you're like in and out of the studio, students just stop coming because they want consistency. They want to be able to rely on you. Yeah,
which is again like goes outside. Like, look at what do you want out of like your family, right? You want consistency. What do you want out of your work, right? All the communities, your friend group, right? There's consistency in that. Like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does, and it's it's hard still, and there is, I think, an element of like when you're being a teacher, you also have to kind of put yourself out there and market for yourself a little bit as a teacher and what you have to offer. And that can be really hard to do because you have to be really brave and vulnerable. And so I've been, trying to support my teachers in that way of just being like, you have students too. Like as a teacher, you're not going to be everybody's teacher. And quite frankly, I don't want to be everybody's teacher,
The opposite of that Bikram guy.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and that requires like opening the space for healing, because that's, what yoga is to me. It's like a huge avenue for healing. Yeah.
It's awesome. And another exciting, talk to me about these like retreat things. Like you have one coming up in September, maybe?
Yeah, I'm so excited. So, I have a retreat coming up in September where we're going to explore the elements, Panchatattvas. And I have another retreat kind of cooking in the pot. And I think retreats are so expansive because you get together 3 to 5, 7 days with this one group of people who are committed.
Yeah.
Like
you know why you're there.
You know why you're there. Yeah. Like you're committed to living, breathing, eating, showering, being in the same room, sleeping with these other people, and also doing these really profound practices, trusting the teacher to lead them through it. And also just being able to kind of put the armor down, and be able to be there in your full truth. I talk about it a lot in my one-on-one sessions is we're multifaceted, right? The human body is built on systems upon systems upon systems. And we have our true nature, but we also have kind of our second nature. And our second nature is past programming, trauma, sometimes it's karmic footprints from other lives, that's the second nature, and it's also the subconscious truth, and we get so used to operating from that space that sometimes, or it does, disconnect us from ourselves, our one true nature, the source, who we really are, untethered from social karma, family constructs. So that is what we really get into in the retreat space.
Is that non-attachment what you were just explaining?
Sure, yes. Yeah, exactly. So that is why I love that space. And we can find that in a yoga class too. Yeah. Right? It's different. It hits different.
I could get what you're getting at, the whole thing. So then execute, in that 3 days, what is that, from, so you're there the whole time, is it a couple yoga classes spread throughout the day with sound baths and potlucks? What is it actually, you know what I mean? What does it look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's pretty busy.
Yeah, I'd assume.
And not every retreat is like this, but this one is pretty in depth. And I like a lot of my trainings and classes to be in depth. Like, I want the people who want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to go deep. I want to help you go deep in a very safe and exploratory manner, right? And so we begin on like a Friday, 9 a.m. We jump right into a practice,
Nice.
you know, and I also have a guest teacher coming in, Michelle Greenfield, who is awesome, and I highly recommend
Is she
her.
the acupuncture lady?
No, Michelle Greenfield, she collaborates with Kojin on a lot of sound baths.
Cool.
Yeah, and she teaches around in the community as well. And she does a lot of nature mindfulness hikes. So
Cool.
she's a very, very wise teacher. So she'll be a guest teacher on one of the days doing Kundalini and meditation nature walk. And we'll be doing a lot of sitting, a lot of mantras, a lot of meditation. We explore each element that's taken apart each day. And the point of that is to peel back the onion. The koshas is what we call it in yoga,
Yeah.
where it's like we're getting to that inner peace. We're getting to that true nature. But it like we can't just like snap our fingers and we're there, right? Or else we'd probably all be there. We really have to work through these programmings, through these constructs. So I set it up in a very like strategic way to work through those things. And so we basically practice all day Friday. We have writing prompts. We have restorative sessions. You know, there's a hot tub there.
Nice.
So we're going to have some like hanging out in the water, which is one of the elements we're going to be exploring, you know. And then one of the days, I believe it's on Saturday, we hit fire element pretty hard to detox the mind and the body and impurities. Most specifically impurities of the self, you know, the narratives that we tell ourselves that are inherently like not great. You know, it's those huge mental blocks we all have in some way or fashion, whether it's like perfectionism, self-sabotage,
Inferiority complex.
exactly,
Yeah.
like all kinds. And so we really get into that, and there's a sauna there, so we'll be
Nice.
sitting in the sauna chanting a lot, getting into that space. And like I said, it's very strategic the way it's planned out. All the practices build upon each other.
That's awesome. Where are you doing that at?
So it is in Hocking Hills.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice, nice.
and it's not too far away from here, which I love. And it's like nestled, it's like this cabin nestled into this rock face,
Wow, yeah.
and there's like a huge patio with like a rock overhanging it, and it's so beautiful.
Sounds wonderful.
And like the downstairs part is decorated in the Big Lebowski.
Shout out to the dude.
Yeah, shout out to the dude. So I'm like, this is great. And like all, you know, there's also that element of just like also having just fun,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It doesn't have to be so serious. And I'll have an assistant with me all weekend as well, and who is this like down home West Virginian good old girl who's been my student for quite some time now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited to just be in that space. It's so intimate, so transformative, and it's a lot too as the teacher to hold
yeah,
that space.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I have another retreat that I'm planning kind of on the back burner. This retreat is all women's. But I really want to lead co-ed retreats. I really want to get women, men, trans, non-binary people like all in the same boat together, because I think we need more healing together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need more healing together as a community. You know, I want just, it's so powerful to be able to sit in that space and see through other people's eyes when they share, when they break open, you know, or just like handing a like tissue to somebody, or hugging somebody that you just met, you don't even know, but yet feel this like profound connection with. So that's like cooking in the kitchen, and a lot of that is like, I have Ashley Wine's yoga stuff, which is like mentorship, and then Middle Path Yoga, which is like gonna be more the retreats and just getting like all my students kind of together in the same hub in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. How did you get into yoga?
Yeah, I mean, I always had sports growing up. Like I was labeled an ADHD kid, couldn't sit still, and the calmest that I was like during football season, right? It's like you started in 3rd grade, you go to football practice and like literally like I fall asleep because I'm exhausted, right? It's just like I didn't realize that I got a lot of mental clarity out of the physical exhaustion of like sports. And so I don't know, I mean, like I liked stretching. I feel like I was a pretty flexible kid. Like I always felt flexible in sports and stuff, but then kind of like just graduating high school or whatever, like I don't know, like I got into running, and I ran a couple half marathons, right? Like still trying to, like I still didn't even like understand it was like exercise, right? It was calming me down, and but I never took a huge like, I never really considered the mental aspect of activity, right? And it wasn't until like, I just went to some yoga class, like one yoga class during college, and I just remember feeling really calm and just like peaceful, and like that reminder of just like let it go, like set an intention and be right here, and it was just great. And I got that same thing, just very like extreme presence, right? Like I only thought about like this next football play. Like I'm not thinking about whatever the traumas that I've experienced, just whatever, right? And so. Yeah, like had a class, but then still just kind of withered away. Like never really went back to it. I don't know why. And I moved to Cleveland after I graduated college. And they're just one of my coworkers. Like I was talking about yoga. Like I was talking about how it would be cool to go to a yoga class. And this dude just like walked over to my cubicle one day and was like, "Hey man, like there's this place. Like I've gone to it. Me and my wife go to it. Like come to a Saturday morning class. It was called Inner Bliss Yoga Studio in Rocky River." And so I went to that class, and then I just fell in love with it, like in Cleveland. And I was also like I was in Cleveland, I was alone. Like it was the first time I really left home like alone, and so I didn't have like a bunch of friends. And so that just kind of became my sanctuary in Cleveland, like, just going to yoga classes. And I went to like 2 or 3 a week, and then like I started to kind of follow this one teacher around, like because there was another studio, whatever, like 20 minutes away. And so then like I was just like going to the studio where that teacher, like wherever, and then yeah, so that was kind of like Mark Denise is his name. Shout out to Mark Denise. He just even that extension. It was the first time somebody in Cleveland invited me to anything that wasn't work related. Like it was just like so like it was it was such a beautiful like olive branch that he extended that made me feel so comfortable in a time and place where I wasn't. And then ever since then, then I came back to Athens, and there kind of wasn't a studio. I went to Serenity Roots a couple times, but that same just like in like gravitational pull that I felt to that studio in Cleveland, I feel to Middle Path, and I feel to like your teaching, and so that just really excites me, and that's why like I felt comfortable to do the 200-hour. Like it is a very scary, exciting thing, but whatever. I just have this like innate trust that you're taking it the right direction. I don't know. I think this conversation is a product of all that. Like you're just explaining how, how serious you take this. So. Yeah. But that was a long-winded answer. But
no, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I mean, it's always interesting to hear how people get drink the Kool-Aid. That's what one of my teachers would say. Like once you drink the Kool-Aid of yoga, you're kind of just like all in, And I also think it's so interesting too because, obviously you walked into the teacher training info meeting, which we have another one August 10th at 11 a.m. at the yoga studio. But I was like, who are you? When you walked in. And you've been in the studio ever since. It's like really cool. It's also so cool to see men
Yeah.
in the studio.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think that like stigma is about? Like, what is it about? Like, because they obviously they don't know what yoga is or have never been to a yoga class. Like, oh, like I don't know what they think it is, but like, what is that apprehension with like dudes in yoga?
It's too hard. No, just kidding.
It is fucking so hard. Like, it pisses me off when people are just like, oh, you mean you work out in yoga? Come to a fucking power flow, dude. Shut your mouth.
Literally.
Yeah.
Or people will be like, I'm not flexible. And I'm like,
Yeah,
well, that's
yeah.
why you go. That's why you go, you know? Yeah, so jokes aside, actually, yoga was only for men.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, thousands of years ago, it was just men practicing yoga. And so fast forward, you know, I think we have a lot of kind of deprogramming that needs to happen and culturally, right? Because yoga also became very over the years, you know, more, and a lot of great teachers are men and have been men. Some of the most profound teachers and a lot of these teachings come from men, right? Which is super powerful. And then when women were allowed to practice yoga, right? Because in some places, like, they were legally not allowed to practice yoga. And a lot of people, like Indra Devi, a very powerful teacher, like, she fought for women's rights to be able to practice yoga. So there's a lot of politics involved, you know, and now I think we see yoga being culturally appropriated, especially by white women, to be honest. And it's also diluting a lot of teachings when, you know, people are like going to Costa Rica for 2 weeks to get a 200-hour teacher training. Like, I'm sorry, but you cannot safely and effectively teach a yoga class or hold space for somebody in 2 weeks. I don't care what teacher.
I have seen some of this where it's literally 12 hours a day for 10 or what, you know, whatever.
Insane.
10 hours a day for 20 days. Like, I've seen some of those and I didn't understand that, but
No, I don't.
yeah.
I mean, it's money, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it's exploiting the practice. It's exploiting
Juicing it as a
teachers.
capitalistic, like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of have, and with everything, we kind of have to, like, weave through that, you know, and that's why it's so important finding, like, a teacher that really resonates with you, an environment that feels safe and supportive, and knowing who your teacher is.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but I actually went to the info session. Never been in the studio. Went to the info. I didn't respond to the info session until after I came back to a class. Like, I was like, because, you know, like, whatever, informationally, I was like, oh, this is really exciting. Like,
Sure.
the execution of this is going to be really easy. Like, Saturday, Sunday, a couple weekends a month. Like, you know, I was like, great, this is all. But then I was like, oh, I should probably, wait a minute. I should probably go to a class. And then, like, yeah, I think 10 minutes into the class, I was like, all right, I'm there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like, you need to make sure as a student that your teacher is walking in alignment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and with any, like, this is a great question to ask yourself. Are my thoughts, speech, and actions in alignment? You know, what's your teacher doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, you know? I think that's really important, and I think that's part of being able to hold that space and in a nourishing and safe and effective manner, right? Because, like, if your teacher's out getting wasted all night, you know, and then trying to hold a class in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
you know, and, like, students, you guys do whatever you want, you know, please come in hungover, I got you.
Yeah.
Just bring your water. You know, we're there for that. But, you know, that's really important, right? And so I think yoga, like, who you're taking yoga from, what you're reading is very important. Like, I'm obviously not going to read anything that, like, an abusive teacher has put out into the world, because that's not what I agree with, you know? And so teachers...
It's very intentional.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, what are the intentions, you know? And that should be how we do anything, you know? Teachers...
Again, yoga off the mat.
Yoga
Yeah.
off the mat, you know? In the world is, what are your intentions here, you know, and why?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so, kind of rounding back to that question of like men in the yoga room, yeah, I think it got kind of dominated by women in this way. And, and it also was this really beautiful thing of just like ceremony and ritual. And I think that has a very powerful place of like lighting the incense, wearing all white, lighting the candle, chanting together in a community space. And I think we need more men in the yoga room, because we need more softness, we need more structure. And I think a lot of times people think, well, you gotta have one or you gotta have the other. But like freedom, which is fluid, needs discipline, which is structure, So we kind of have to have this structure for the fluidity to flow through. And when we have that structure, we have more freedom. When we have more discipline, we have more freedom, you know?
It's like Taoism, right? Yin yang, right? The line between the two, right?
Right.
Order within chaos, chaos within order.
Exactly.
The middle path.
Yeah, the middle path, So yeah, I hope, and there's a couple of men that are going to be in the teacher training, which I'm super excited about. And I'm all about it, Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yoga, man, that's so sick.
Yoga. Yeah.
So retreat's coming up. Got the 200 hour. I know you mentioned like, is there going to be a 300 after? You still kind of like putzing with that? What that's going to look like?
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna do 200 hour, and I have had requests from other certified teachers for a 300 hour. I'm in the air with whether I want to do a 300 hour or a 500 hour just go into it. So we will see. I do think a 300 hour and 500 hours teacher training they're really fun because it's like, okay, everybody already has this foundation of like what yoga is, where it came from, the history, the lineage, like it's already very ingrained.
A solid foundation to build upon.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and like I said, yoga is so expansive. There's so much to it. So I think I'm going to leave it open to see what the community is asking for.
Yeah.
So far, it's been a lot of already established teachers far and wide who've been like, I want to take a 300 hour with you. And
Nice.
I'm like, okay, sweet. And so I'm still feeling that out. And also feeling out like, okay, what is it that they see in me that they want to learn, And I think that is a big part of it, especially if I'm the one who's like leading the majority of the training.
Yeah.
So I want it to be authentic and genuine and like, also support people into what they want. And I think right now too, I see teachers just not really knowing how to assert themselves in a entrepreneurial manner. So I think
advocating for themselves, like for their abilities and...
Yeah, advocating for themselves, how they market, how they price themselves, the length of their classes, the way they communicate with teachers, and also just like how to be in that space in a conscious like way. And I think mainly the root of that is leadership. Really learning and honing in on leadership skills, especially as like if you're a teacher, you already have like a lot of that like in your energetic field. So it's like, okay, how do we like really lean on these strengths that you already have and put it into the world? And it's so hard. Like there's social media and people are like posting things every day. And so really like weeding out what's authentic to you and not being scared to put that out there. And that's for teachers, that's for artists, that's for podcast holders, like that's for everybody, right? We're always going to feel the weight of like what other people are doing. So how do we like connect back with our source and do what we want to do, like really, really want to do, that deep yearning desire, despite whatever everybody else is doing, you know, even if it feels maybe like wrong or not in alignment with the world. I mean, when I told a friend I was opening a yoga studio, her response was like, well, didn't like everybody else fail at that in this community? And I was just like, dang, dude. Yeah, so what?
Let me bounce that energy right the fuck away from me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, so what? You know, like I learn, and I think everybody can learn so much from other people's failures and their own failures. Like, there is so much potency there. There's so much information there. Like, okay, so what if I fail? Like, that's not going to deter me. And these other people failing, I mean, do you really see it? I'm not even sure I see it as failures, you know. Cycles end, doors close, that's okay, you know. People move on, that's fine. Like,
that's okay. You keep coming back to that like sentiment at the end of statements, and I fucking love that so much. Like the allowance for like you again, like you're giving yourself the like credit to feel like what you. It's just a beautiful thing. I appreciate that, and it's okay.
And it's okay.
More people, because you talk about like those negative thoughts or whatever. It's like you have those negative thoughts, and that's okay. You know, like just and that's okay. Put it on tattoo it on my forehead.
You can get shirts made. It's fine. Just put the logo on there for me. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of, like, being human, you know? We're gonna judge other people sometimes. We're gonna judge ourselves sometimes. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, as long as we're able to kind of catch those thoughts and recenter.
Which is meditation, right? That's meditation.
Right,
Yeah.
and being able, and presence, right? That's presence. And ask yourself, okay, why am I having these negative thoughts? Why am I judging this other person? What's going on in me? You know, because it's not with the other person, what they're doing or the situation or whatever. Like, how can I approach myself with kindness and love and peace? And how can I, like, you know, bring that forward in my day
Or project that rather than all this negative shit.
Yeah. And there's this ancient teaching about do your practice, close the doors, shut the blinds, and don't tell anybody. You know, because your truth and your vulnerability isn't always, especially when you're in these very vulnerable spaces of transformation or integration or transcending, you know, it's not always for other people's eyes to see, you know, and sometimes we I think as humans, especially in this day and age and social media and stuff, we just want to share and blurt it out.
Yeah, it's like the intention behind it. Are you doing something to show that you're doing something? Like, who are you when no one is watching?
Yeah.
Who is that person? Woo! Because who are you? Yeah. When no one is watching. You know, my football coach, shout out to Coach Adams. He was the first one to instill that with me. Like, who are you when no one is watching? That's who you're with forever.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. You know, and some people can't even. A practice I have a lot of my students do is look yourself in the mirror. Like, how many times a day are we washing our hands or getting dressed and we're actually not pausing and just looking at ourselves in the eyes?
Yeah.
And who are you? You know, and what do you want to feel and be for that day, for that moment? And it can be very powerful, and it can also help you deconstruct a lot of narratives that we've built for ourselves to protect ourselves, that also keep us from being our true authentic self.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like rub off of you know, you talk about that person that you mentioned the yoga studio to, and it's just their snap response is negative, and then it's not everybody can push that away, and then they take that on, and then, you know, it's and then you're talking to somebody else about some other thing, and they push some negative, and it's just you have this lifelong baggage of all this other negativity that other people pushed on you that you kind of had to accept from them to carry, right? And it's, you know, and just that, and which is attachment, right? Your attachment to these negative things. It's just the non-attachment, man.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point because that is something everybody's dealing with every day,
Yeah.
whether it's from like in-person conversations or social media. We're like constantly getting hit with other people's opinions
Mm-hmm.
and other people's personifications, other people's trauma, the way they
It's a,
project it.
yeah, yeah. You're trying to assess it. Not only are you like absorbing it, but you're trying to like assess: is this good? Is this bad? Like, how does this apply to me? Like it
Yeah.
goes so fast, so quick.
And that is the dysregulation.
Yeah.
If you're feeling that, that's like almost your indicator to step back.
Yeah.
Like to step back, to breathe, check in with who you are, and ask yourself, okay, what is mine? What is this other person's? And what is the world's? And then we can kind of get more information about like, oh, okay, and also that I think creates like when we can step back and ask those 3 questions, we build empathy, and then we can like not take things so personally and realize, oh, okay, like that's coming from them. It's from something I have no fucking clue what, and guess what? I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to know.
But it's like you almost have to know that for yourself, right? Like you have to not take that stuff on from yourself to not take, because it's like what is it, like the muscle again, right? That acknowledgement of like it's the same thing whether it comes from you or somebody else, or just like, oh yeah, I actually don't have to like accept this negativity, like what is it, an invitation, right? It's like it's all invitations, Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so much easier said than done, right? Like it's so much easier. We as a society, we are constantly reacting rather than responding. But I think that also we prime that space of responding versus reacting when we do have a meditation practice, when we do have meditation can also be just like getting in the garden, or like I remember there was a time where like shoveling horse shit was really meditative to me, so it doesn't have to be like sitting on a bolster in front of your altar, and I think that's really important to stress as well. But anything that can just like really set the space for your body and mind to regulate.
Yeah. Which is like I would relate that to like dudes, right? Dudes have a really hard time just sitting in front of each other and talking, but like put a football in their hand, like let them throw, right? Or go for a walk. It's like you have just enough of like stimulation to kind of like let like the barrier down a little bit, like that's a common thing for like even like with my dad and stuff, right? Like it's like I don't know. I feel like dudes, right? You get them to like kind of just go for a walk, play for pat, like work on build something, right? Like that's when you just I don't know what that is about, but like that feels right,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for a lot I just dudes.
Definitely.
I can definitely relate to that as well.
The horseshit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, horseshit. Yeah, and I think that is like movement, like getting the movement involved in the process is so important. Because when we can move, we're also inviting in more fluidity. We're inviting in a certain space of openness, depending where it is or how it's landing in the body. It's also an opportunity to get endorphins moving, so the cortisol starts to, settle down. So I think that's part of it. And I think for anybody in the healing process, like I think movement is super important. Like honestly, when I'm working one-on-one with people and I'm doing it virtually, I usually am just like walking, pacing around the studio, because that helps me maintain clarity, right? Or sometimes it's like just me sitting when I'm leading a class. Especially, it's kind of like what's the intention here, right? If I'm working with somebody that needs to bring something to life, we want a little bit more momentum.
Okay.
So what I bring to the table, how I set the space matters. So like if we're sitting in class, you know, and I'm trying to lead a meditation, like I'm probably not up like dancing
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I think it's just getting like the whole body involved with whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Cool.
Dude, Ashley Wines, this is fantastic. I appreciate your time so much, man. I mean, like, how can the community really support your studio? It's coming to classes. It's like telling your friends about it. It's showing up to the retreats. You know, obviously, like the obvious answer is like come to the studio. Like, you know, how else can the community support Middle Path Yoga Studio?
Yeah, so the retreat is full. So
Okay.
thank you for everybody
Shout out.
yes, a huge shout out. It filled so quickly, and
It's a good sign.
that was amazing. Yeah, that's a good feeling. Yeah, I mean, coming to class, like, come to class not for the studio's benefit, but for you.
Yeah.
I mean, something that is frustrating for me as a studio owner is like, people will spend hundreds of dollars at the bar to like fill themselves with poison,
Yep.
but they're like $20 to feel good. I don't know. So I would invite the community to explore that.
Yeah.
Why? You know, why would you, like, how are you taking care of yourself, and why aren't you? Like, and I would invite the community to get clear about what their blocks are for preventing them to take care of themselves, because that's what I want for the community, is people taking care of themselves and nourishing their nervous systems, and, you know, disconnecting from their phones and their Apple Watches for 75 minutes to just be in their body. And so I want to know why the community doesn't want to do that.
That's beautifully said. Yeah.
And we'll be here. Like,
Yeah.
the studio's going to be here for you whenever you're ready. And, you know, whether it's a training or a workshop or a studio, you know, leave us a Google review. That helps. Visit the website, subscribe to our newsletter. And I just use those newsletters to keep everybody informed. Follow us on social media. We have Middle Path Yoga Studio on Facebook, Middle Path Yoga on Instagram. I also have an Instagram, and I'm always sharing tidbits of
Great
like,
stuff. A lot of great stuff.
Yeah, life, you know, working through emotional problems, practices to help elevate your own life at home, where you don't have to get into like a one-on-one container with me. And that is Ashley Wines with an underscore. And I think that's it. And just stay coming back to the website, because there's going to be more retreats. There's going to be more trainings. We have a info meeting for the 200-hour training that starts in September on August 10th at 11. And that'll probably be our last info meeting, because we are definitely getting full.
Yeah.
We are more than halfway full right now. So if you are interested in the training, just reach out to me, and you can DM me on any of the social medias, or send an email, middlepathyogastudio@gmail.com, or ashleywinesyoga@gmail.com for any like one-on-one mentorship stuff. So
It's awesome. Ashley Wines, I appreciate the person that you are. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Tyler. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm so glad we finally got in the space together, because it was super cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
Ashley
you.
Wines, thanks so much.
Yay.